A couple of videos ago, I was looking for 7-spot ladybirds, counting 7-spot ladybirds, and I hoped that maybe I might come across a very rare ladybird in Nottinghamshire, the striped ladybird. I was unsuccessful, not surprisingly, for a species which I think overwinters at the uppermost reaches of Scots pines here in Sherwood Forest. So how can I reach the top of those trees to look for striped ladybird? I have a cunning plan, and that plan is simply take advantage of when they chop them all down. If you go down to the woods today, you're in for a hell of a surprise. Well, here's my chosen habitat for today, at least for an hour or so. My chance to look at the tops of trees, but unfortunately, as you can see, they've been wrestled down to the ground, so to speak. Well, it looks as though they've been wrestled, to be honest, because any kind of clear fell or pine removal is done as quickly as possible and with as little care as is practically possible. Honestly, that's from my experience and not from anybody's propaganda before they take these down. Although, as is usual in the Sherwood Forest area, there's no or little notice of any tree removal, at least not to the general public. So all of a sudden one day you come down to your favourite spot and hey presto, somebody's nicked it, and they've left what I would certainly call a mess. It's fairly typical though, work's done like this and with the amount of rain that we've done. But this is an area, or it was an area of pine woodland across the road from the Sherwood Forest Country Park on the Swinecote Road, just north of Edwinstowe, lying in between Sherwood Forest Country Park and the brand new country park that's being developed to the left of the screen on the site of the former Thoresby Colliery site, another site which they'll end up trashing just to create some space, some open space for the dog walking public and somewhere to graze longhorn cattle. I'm afraid that's the typical view of the management in the Sherwood Forest area. Very little is done for the wildlife, as much as they may cry otherwise. I never like to see this kind of work, and it's thinning work as well. They've not just took out the pine trees, they've took out lots of young oaks, and of course the old favourite, the silver birch, and they've opened it up. It's called conservation, don't you know, but they've still got some timber still to remove. You can see just to the back of me over there that there's still some trunks to remove, but the whole of this area is just piles of brash, all the tops of the pines that have been just dropped, chopped and left at the moment. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but this is what I'm going to have a quick look through, see if I can find by chance striped ladybird. That would be good, but when I'm working in an area such as this, no doubt they'll tell me off for it. I don't like it. In fact, a lot of people probably won't like this video because I have a go again at these organisations. They'll say it'll be good when it's done, but it doesn't do anything at all for the wildlife that's here now, especially those invertebrates that feed on pine. So we're looking for striped ladybird then, that's the hoped for species, but where to look? This is the veritable needle, a very small needle despite it being a large ladybird in an even larger haystack. But there's some remnants of dead pines here, absurdly enough, and I know why they've done it or why they say they've done it, they've left one pine tree, which is as dead as the veritable dodo. They always do it. And they'll say it's deadwood habitat, standing deadwood habitat, but some of these pines just left, you don't need to take them all, you just leave a few mature pines, provide habitat for a range of species. But because these species feed on pines, nobody's bothered. Now my method of searching here is a bit haphazard really, no particular method. It is, as I mentioned, just like looking for a needle in a haystack, and I am looking under any loose bark. There are some sections of trees that have been brought down that do have loose bark on them and that were obviously dead at the time. But I have a feeling though that striped ladybirds are going to be tucked in the end of the growths at the top of these pines. It would be nice to find one, even if the chance of finding a striped ladybird has had to come from this method. It's a shame we haven't got a bit of warm sunshine, to be honest, because that would help possibly in my quest here this morning, because that would have made any ladybirds active and probably start to relocate. A lot may well have been knocked to the floor in the process of the tree being taken down and then knocked off the foliage as such, but then they'll tuck themselves away. This is a challenge. Well, I have found one pine ladybird. That's the only ladybird I've found. Have many years ago found striped ladybird on a similar situation to this, although it was an isolated pine in what was then known as Clipston Forest. Now it's called Sherwood Pines. And there was one striped ladybird there, but the white markings, the white stripes and sorts of spots weren't white, they were crystal clear almost. A most unusual and probably very old individual, to be honest. So this method does work. The felling of mature pines probably represents your best chance of ever seeing striped ladybird. Unless you go around beating the hell out of pines for a year, you may well turn one up. But I don't want to do that. So continued searching it is. You may well think that pine cones would make ideal places for invertebrates to tuck into and spend the winter, but it's actually the opposite, because when the cones are developed and they're in the process of opening, the lobes for the seeds to either be pulled out or fall out. If any insect or invertebrate is to go into the cone and we get rain, the cone clamps shut, the invertebrate gets crushed. So, not very good at all. Which is a shame really. I mean, sometimes you will get insects tucked into the joint of cone where that cone meets the stem. But although you would think that cones, older cones and larger cones, when they do open, it'd be great for insects to tuck themselves in, and indeed I imagine some insects probably do, they're doomed. Because when that cone shuts, if the insect can't get out quick enough, it's had it. I've still found nothing, just that solitary pine ladybird. thought I might find another pine dwelling species, and that's cream street ladybird, but no. The thing is, with both cream street and striped ladybirds, their coloration, their background coloration, isn't that orangey red of seven spot ladybird and harlequin ladybirds. Not so easy to see, although they are fairly bright, more of a brownish orange in some individuals, and in some mature specimens their ground colour is the colour of conkers of horse chestnut fame, and they're not easy to see, especially when they're tucked into the buds here. But at the moment, not a sign. They're a fair few years old, these pines, lovely mature pines. The fact that they're regarded as a crop is, well, what can I say? Pines completely disregarded, unless it's in Scotland, for its habitat and its usefulness to wildlife and invertebrates. Down here, we don't give a toss about it, because it's worth money. Money raises its head and rules everything below its head. All these years of growth, some years better than others. Good years there. Not much growth in there. But I will see if I can determine the age by counting these rings. It's the most remarkable thing about trees is that we can tell exactly how long they've been growing and how old they are, or how old they were after we've chopped them down. In an age, well, a time really, when they're going mad to get us to plant trees. What's the point? What's the point when they'll just do that with them? We like to be seen to be biodiverse and caring for the wildlife and everything. We like to be seen that, but and I dare say everyone will go out and plant trees, little trees like this. Everyone will love to plant one of these, plant one somewhere, but then in 30-40 years time they'll be moaning about it being too big and honeydew going on top of the cars, blocking the light out, and the leaves every year on the road and on the cars and in the gardens. That's how much the majority of the public really like trees. They're all right in woods, away from the homes and properties. They all just like to be seen to be diverse and contributing towards diversity. When in reality, most of them would prefer to buy a chainsaw and cut it down. Well, I've drawn a blank. Nothing at all. It doesn't mean that they're not here, of course. A possible revisit may well be in the first warm days of early spring, either late February or early March. That first day when you really feel the warmth in the sun. That may well see any dislodged ladybirds relocating. Or Any striped ladybirds that are here may well be in the smaller, younger pines that are on the top of the hill there on the slope of the former pit top. Maybe we'll come back again.